Solar Warlock players have had it good recently. It's almost to the point where some people are doubting the viability going forward past Final Shape, purely because of how good and how spoiled we are with the artifact. I'm here to prove that wrong. The artifact from Season of the Wish has been a godsend for build crafting, if not being a little limited to favouring Solar. We're not here to go over the seasonal builds, but this video serves as both an introductory guide to Solar Warlock, as well as getting into some niche and powerful builds for endgame going into the Final Shape. Every Solar Warlock build revolves around two factors, and they usually have a pretty good mix of both, with some variations between which. These being healing and ignitions. Warlock has the most potential healing utility in their kit for both team play and solo content. Warlock has exotics dedicated towards healing a team, as well as maintaining infinite high-powered self-healing in its base kit through Restoration x2 and Cure. In terms of ignitions, Warlock has some of the best and easiest options available, with all three abilities having some access to near-instant ignitions. Ignitions occur when an enemy reaches 100 Scorch stacks. Scorch stacks are generated through abilities or the incandescent perk. I want to start off with the more unique parts of the kit and the choices they offer in regards to playstyles. Here we have Phoenix Dive and the two melees, Celestial Fire and Incinerator Snap. Phoenix Dive is offered as a class ability. It's a more movement heavy and offensive tool that's usually best for fast-paced content where you can't sit still in a rift for long periods of time. While it loses the longer sustain of either healing or damage from the rifts, it's given a much lower cooldown. At a base level, this sounds like a pretty niche tool, and where it shines is when it's paired with Heat Rises, where on top of curing us and nearby allies, it also grants us Restoration x2 and scorches nearby enemies. We'll dive a little deeper into combos and maximizing the potential of Phoenix Dive a little bit later because it's a seriously strong and sometimes overlooked ability. Incinerator Snap and Celestial Fire are offered as the two melee abilities on Solar Warlock. They both have different use cases and can both shine equally in different builds. A lot of people prefer Incinerator Snap at the moment for the instant ignitions, the larger AoE, shorter cooldown, and higher base damage, and I know that sounds like a lot of upsides, but there are definitely examples where Celestial Fire can see more success. Celestial Fire throws out 3 fast-traveling projectiles with a huge range that apply Scorch on hit. Incinerator Snap lets out 5 individual projectiles in a fan in front of you that explode on impact or after a short distance travelled. When comparing the two, Snap wins in most contexts, where its quick and easy close-range explosions can wipe most enemies without a hitch. However, Celestial sees use in longer-range encounters and higher-end content, where being close enough to enemies for Incinerator Snap to be effective usually results in death. Celestial Fire's advantage is that when paired with Ember of Torches for the on-melee hit Radiant effect, it's an on-demand proc at nearly any range, and one of the main reasons why Celestial Fire isn't used at the moment is how easy it is to proc Radiant through the seasonal artifact, and when that goes away, we'll see some more usage of it. In terms of aspects, Heat Rises is the number one option at the moment, and every build uses it. Being able to convert every grenade into a quick burst of healing is useful in basically every context, and its main function of being able to stay airborne while having access to all normal actions is kinda overshadowed by the melee energy back on airborne kills. With the right build, you can infinitely chain together Incinerator Snaps in lower end content. Heat Rises also has a really weird, unstated interaction where it swaps your glide ability when it's active. Having Burst Glide on and using Heat Rises will override your jump ability to Strafe Glide, and vice versa. There's no real changes when using Balance Glide. See, check this out though. This is a comparison between the movement speed in a pretty standard glide pattern with Strafe and Burst. Anyways, the other aspects are Icarus Dash and Touch of Flame. In the final shape, we'll see the addition of Hellion, and I've got a Theorycraft build for that on the channel as well, and the link for that will be in the description below. Icarus Dash is a movement tool, and it gives us an air dodge, or 2 with Heat Rises, that either acts as a quick boost in momentum in any direction, or as a way to kill momentum entirely. It also takes your initial momentum into consideration, and that allows for some really fast chain movement tech. There's a lot of nuance and practice in maximizing Icarus dashes, and even a little bit of practice goes a long way towards moving a whole lot faster. I'm not going to go in depth on skating in this video, but there are plenty of guides on YouTube. I recommend Mactic's video on the topic, and that'll be in the description as well. Icarus Dash also has the added effect of curing you upon rapid final blows while airborne or with super. It's not really noticeable, but it is a nice little bump. If you don't need Icarus Dash or you're running a grenade build, you'll want to be using Touch of Flame. Touch of Flame enhances your grenades, specifically healing, fusion, firebolt, and solar grenades, and it's super useful in higher end content and for boss DPS. Look, we've been through the Starfire meta and now we're in the Sunbraces meta, and both of these really rely on Touch of Flame for the grenade enhancements. Putting more power into your grenades is great for everything. It really is a solid option for most content. For supers, Solar Warlocks are in a pretty rough spot. You might be watching this for the sole intent of learning about how to build around Well of Radiance, and for that I applaud you. You're a hell of a bigger team player than I am. I love Daybreak. If you've watched any of my solo flawless videos, you'll see that I'm almost always using Daybreak over Well of Radiance. Dawn Chorus being a really strong exotic outside of the bonus super effects gives that build way more versatility in every activity, but it's hard to deny that Well of Radiance is important in endgame content. If you're not running a Dawn Chorus Daybreak build, you'll be on Well, which creates an area of near immortality for 30 seconds. It also gives everyone standing inside it a huge damage boost. It's impossible for me to sit here and say that you never need to swap off of Daybreak, but it's been a subtle mission of mine to show people that Daybreak is super strong. I've been using it in raids, GMs, dungeons, etc. But as a Warlock player, you do need to be able to step back and understand that your individual power can only be made stronger by helping your team. Hopefully, in the final shape, we'll see some more alternatives for team play that allow Warlocks to finally swap off of Well for boss DPS. Moving on from that slightly somber note, Solar has some of the best fragments in the game. Torches, Imperium, Ashes are all kind of the main reason why I stay playing Solar across the entire game. These 3 fragments alone synergize insanely well with some of the best weapons in the game. Think current season monsters like Sunshot, Polaris Lance, Zauli's Bane, and my personal favourite, Tyranny of Heaven. While the first 2 are getting some slight nerfs to their splash damage, Incandescent on legendary weapons is still one of the best perks in the game, where Final Blows apply 30 Scorch stacks to nearby enemies, and when you pair it with Ember of Ashes, which increases all Scorch stack applications, this goes to 40 stacks. Torches gives Radiant on charge melee hit, which is why Celestial Fire is really good in endgame content. Radiant gives a 25% damage buff to all weapons while active, and it lasts 8 seconds at base before disappearing. That's pretty good, but we can make it better with Ember of Imperium, where Solar Final Blows, be it from weapons or abilities, add bonus time to Radiant and Restoration. As long as you keep chaining Final Blows, you'll never run out of Restoration or Radiant. So now that we've got the basics down, let's go over the general playstyle of most Solar Warlock builds. First, you activate Heat Rises, and then you throw a melee ability into a group of enemies and Phoenix Dive onto them. This gives you Radiant, Restoration ×2, and sets off ignitions on the enemies, usually killing them. Those kills boost the uptime on Radiant and Restoration, and it also increases the time on your Heat Rises and refunds melee energy if you jump again before the ignitions go off. From that simple combo alone, you've got yourself a 25% damage boost and around 15 seconds of near immortality from Restoration. Now that's a very generalized and bare bones combo, but it's a super strong baseline to judge builds off, and it's useful for most content in the game. Before we finish up, I want to show off some exotics for building a Solar Warlock setup around, and these are all really strong options that I try to keep around at all times and ready to go. Starting off, Phoenix Protocol, where kills inside a Well of Radiance give you back super energy up to 50%. This includes kills from your teammates who are standing inside it, and it allows for some pretty solid well chaining and enemy dense content, even if you're the only Warlock on the team. It's very simple, but very strong. Dawn Chorus isn't really a sleeper pick, it's just probably not used as much as it should be. It increases the power of Daybreak projectiles by 90% and gives them 30 Scorch stacks on hit. It's cool. It makes Daybreak a strong option in mid-tier content and for dealing with big targets. It also makes Scorch stacks deal 200% more damage to targets, which hugely boosts its synergy with incandescent weapons. Also, every tick of Scorch damage restores about 5% of your melee energy, and combine this with the melee restoration from Heat Rises, and your buffing and damaging options through Incinerator Snap should always be up in enemy dense content. Sunbraces are a great option right now, even without the seasonal artifact. Being able to control such a large area for practically free is absurd. Getting a charged melee kill grants a few seconds of infinite solar grenades. It totals out to about 5 free grenades for every melee kill. Touch of Flame solar grenades deal so much damage, even in top tier content. By using Heat Rises and staying airborne while the solar grenades rack up final blows, you'll easily secure yourself another charged melee, which can be used to restart the cycle. Sunbraces are so strong that for a pretty long time they were the top option for runners who were competing for solo Legend Onslaught, and that was all the way up until the Void Hunter discoveries. One option, and probably the exotic I'm looking to bring into my day 1 raid attempts in the final shape, Boots of the Assembler. Once final shape launches, I'll be releasing a full video going in depth on these and their synergy with Lumina, but for now just know that this is the one time that I prefer using rifts over Phoenix Dive. Standing in a rift generates either healing or empowering orbs that seek out teammates based off the type of rift you cast. The healing seekers restore 75 health on allies and starts their regen instantly. and the Empowering Seekers give both you and them a 35% damage boost. Hitting allies with Seekers also stops your rift duration countdown for about 5 seconds, and that essentially gives you an extra 5 seconds of rift time. Pairing these boots with Ember of Benevolence, where buffing or healing teammates gives you boosted cooldown speeds, you can pretty easily ensure 100% rift uptime. These are seriously strong. I use them in Master Raids, GMs, and Legend Onslaught pretty consistently. Finally, and arguably the best exotic in the game, Prometheum Spur. Wait, no, that can't be right. Here we go. Finally, Rain of Fire. Right off the rip, these sound strange. Getting Fusion Rifle or Linear Fusion Rifle final blows gives you Radiant. It's a weird effect, but the main draw is that Icarus Dashing fully reloads all of your weapons, and that's a game changer for rocket dump and swap build rotations for boss DPS. I don't use any other exotic for boss DPS now on Warlock, and pairing these with a bait and switch rocket and something like a Mountaintop is a giant DPS boost compared to normal rotations. While there's no total DPS boost that you see from something like Sunbraces or Dawn Chorus, being able to quickly burst through all of your ammo is a godsend in short damage phases, like the ones that you see in dungeons like Spire of the Watcher. The only thing you gotta watch out for are your teammates. While it's hilarious to Icarus dash right into their rockets, they won't be too happy about it. I always try to stand either on the outside edges of the well or plate and dash forwards or backwards. All in all, I want this video to serve as a quick baseline for Solar Warlocks. I think with so many new and returning players coming in for the final shape, build crafting can get pretty confusing. And I know Bungie has been working hard to make it easier than ever for people to get into. So it doesn't matter if you're a new or returning player, or someone who's been on the grind non-stop for 9 years. I hope that you learned something or had a new idea or got some new inspiration for a build from this video. But anyways, if you've made it to the end, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.